Dowie.
I commend this bill to the House.
James Shaw.
Mr Speaker, I'd like to start by thanking the public servants who helped to draft the legislation and who were in here later tonight after hours to help guide it through the House. It must have been hard for them to hear the Minister say that one of the motivations for this bill was to hold down their wages in the future. I think that there are a number of flaws with this bill. The government's motivations for tying MPs' remuneration to that of the public sector specifically is one of them. In saying to civil servants and public servants and teachers and firefighters and doctors and nurses and so on, to say to them that we're going to tell members of Parliament that they should be afraid of the public backlash in their own pay to hold down your pay, I think is absolutely outrageous, and it's one of the reasons why we're opposed to this bill. It is poor quality legislation. We can see that. We have no idea what the actual impact of this will be. There was no regulatory impact statement. We brought numbers to this House analysing what we knew of the bill last week. We brought numbers to the House which showed what the changes would have been under both of our SOPs, but the Minister did not do that. We actually haven't been shown by the government what the actual impact of this legislation would be. So we're about to pass a bill that we don't actually know what it is. And as a number of people have said, most people in this House who are voting for it don't actually know what the algebraic equation in the bill actually means, what it says. It is a shocking piece of lawmaking. And that is in large part because it's been passed under urgency. And I'd like to say that National has had 6 long years to do something about what is now considered a burning issue. 6 long years in which they have done absolutely nothing until the last 10 days, when all of a sudden it was so important that we had to use urgency as if this was some kind of national emergency. It is not a national emergency, it's an emergency for National. This is not worthy of an abuse of this process. The Minister has provided no case for this coming through under urgency. We could have put this through under a normal legislative program. We could have had select committee stages, we could have heard from the evidence, we could have heard from the public, we could have weighed the options, and we would have a much higher quality bill that people actually understood what the impact was going to be when they voted for it. They'd actually understand that, but tonight instead we're going to vote on a bill and it's going to pass, and we have no idea what it's actually going to do, except in some kind of theory. I would like to thank Labour and New Zealand First in particular, and I'd also like to thank the Māori Party for their gracious words about the SOPs that we placed under Matiria's name. We know that because this is such a poor quality piece of legislation, a number of MPs have said this, that we will be back in the House talking about this before too long because we know that it's busted. And so we'll be fixing it. And we'll be calling on those who supported us tonight with those SOPs for their support to fix the bill and to tie MP remuneration to the New Zealand median wage, which ties MPs' economic interests to those of all New Zealanders. And so if we were to do that, our pay would rise and fall with those of the country as a whole. So we've made that case. We appreciate that it has been listened to on both sides of the House, and we've done everything that we can on this one. We will continue to hold that flame alive. We will not be voting for this bill, although some people have said that this is some kind of improvement on the status quo, but we will not be voting for something because it's such an appalling abusive process and such a poor quality piece of legislation. It is better to retain the status quo and to allow that to happen than it is to put through such a shoddy piece of legislation. We'll be looking forwards to when the next time, which I can't imagine will be too long, that we have to address this. Thank you, Mr Speaker.